Hello and welcome to The Reasons I'm Broke. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Kelli.
We got a smaller week this week on comics, but we did see Skyfall today, which was pretty cool. We'll talk about that later. But first, let's go ahead and get started on some Batman books. Legends of the Dark Knight #2. This one wasn't split up into 3 stories like the last issue was, the first one. It was one long continuous story. It sells for $3.99. It is written by B. Clay Moore. The art was really good, I thought.
Yeah, it was interesting. I'm not an artist, so I don't know that I could really say so much about the art. The story I felt that it was a good story. It was a great idea. How it was delivered kind of ruined it for me. I felt like Croc was a little out of character. Batman was a little out of character.
Yeah, the art was by Ben Templesmith, and there were some moments where they were kind of a little bit out of character. At the same time, Batman used, himself as bait in a way. People around Gotham are being controlled into thinking that they are Batman, and someone is doing this just to watch them get eaten and killed by Croc. And we're not going to spoil who it is that does this, but in the end, Bruce Wayne kind of puts himself in that position, and you kind of see how he has to pretend to be someone that got controlled into being Batman while being Batman at the same time.
He has to be Batman, pretending to be Bruce Wayne, pretending to be Batman.
Yep. I thought it was okay, though. I don't know if it's your pass for the week.
Yeah, just because I feel like the other things that we got were so much better than this one. It wasn't a bad book, but it wasn't the best that we had.
Right. And Batman Detective Comics #14. What'd you think of that one?
I enjoyed it. When I saw the cover, I'm like, oh, great, another Poison Ivy thing. What are they doing now? I liked where they went with it. I liked the message that they gave of, Poison Ivy's doing all this stuff. She's really trying to be good, but she's just going about it the wrong way.
Yeah, the last one ended in a bit of a cliffhanger in that Bruce Wayne was to be assassinated, but Batman had to kind of not get killed while not letting on that he is Batman. He kind of had to accidentally avoid this assassin's attacks and all of that while in the middle of the fundraiser that we talked about it in the one podcast when we talked about where Penguin was buying up the hospital wing, and instead of having it be named after Martha Wayne, he was going to name it after himself, which was pretty funny. But this one does have some interaction between Poison Ivy and Batman, as well as Poison Ivy's husband, which is revealed at the end. So I thought it was a pretty good issue. I enjoyed it.
I thought it was a great issue. Next we have Green Lantern #14. This one continues with the new Green Lantern, and if anybody remembers from the last one, this new Green Lantern is being called a terrorist, and at the end of it he comes face to face with the Justice League. What were your thoughts on that one?
This was a pretty good issue, mainly because we do have some more of what's actually happening with Hal and Sinestro, while at the same time the Justice League freaking out a little bit about this new lantern because they're like, well, one of the Green Lanterns must have died. You have to know about it since you have the green ring. But of course he doesn't know. Simon doesn't know what's going on, but he's slowly learning how to use his powers as he's trying to evade the Justice League. My favorite part is when Simon's like, you really expect me to fight you because you're Superman and you would probably kick my ass. But Batman I could probably take. And then Batman goes, you are a Green Lantern.
Yeah, I agree. That was probably my favorite part of the book, too, is where, you really see how smart he is, because, even Hal would have been cocky and, oh, here, let me, try and beat you up. And this guy realizes, these are my limitations. I can't take you all on. So let's try and figure out and work together. And when you read it, you'll see it doesn't happen as he would have liked, but I'm loving Simon's character.
Yeah, it's a pretty good Green Lantern. Still a great series, Green Lantern. I think that is my pick of the week.
Mine as well.
Check it out, everyone. Green Lantern #14. We also picked up Superman Action Comics #14, mainly because it does have an appearance by Neil deGrasse Tyson. Yeah, Superman fights angels in this.
No, there are the Metallics, but the Metallics are running from the Multitude. That's their name. Yeah, the Metallics are running from the Multitude, and the Multitude take the form of angels and go through eating, I guess, the metal on planets. Mm-hmm. Is what was happening.
Yeah, this one's probably my pass of the week, but I did buy it because Neil does make an appearance on it, and I love Neil. Also, we picked up Swamp Thing number 14. It does have a blank cover on it. Again, we haven't been keeping up with it. We did check out the trade, which was great. But just a heads up, number 14 did come out, and it does have a blank sketch cover, which you can get a sketch on from your favorite artist at any comic book convention.
Speaking of trades, I heard you picked up another fun one to read.
Oh, boy. Well, I got two. One was really good, and one was awful. I don't know which one I should start with.
Start with the good one.
All right, the good one was Sandman. I had never read Neil Gaiman's Sandman, and I really enjoyed it. It was volume 1, the trade. It was written in 88 and 89 is what this trade covered, those issues in that time span. Mm-hmm. And Morpheus, who goes by, well, that's one of the names that Sandman goes by, is trapped. And I'm sure many people out there have already read this, but this is, keep in mind, my first time reading Sandman. He is trapped as people are trying to summon, I believe it was Satan, so that the man could have, he can be immortal. Instead, they summon Morpheus the Sandman. And he's like, well, I can't grant you that power. And eventually Sandman outlives the guy that has him trapped. And he goes after, his son has, the guy's son wants the same thing. My father wanted immortality. I want that too. You're not going to escape this trap until you give it to me. Eventually Sandman, I'm going to say he Batmans his way out of it. Mm-hmm. He tricks them into letting him out. He gets out, and the first thing he wants to do is re-energize. He's got to eat. He's got to get his energy back up. And then he has to get his tools because they were all taken away from him when he was captured. And what I like the best about this trade is it is drawn in such a gorgeous way in that it is dreamlike. You see these panels kind of merge into one another when he's in the other world. When he's in hell, you see everything is placed in a way that would best put you in wherever Sandman is. When he's in hell, you see these corpses everywhere. It's straight to the point. You even have an appearance by Etrigan. And
love Etrigan.
When he's in his palace, you see Sandman's eyes are often like half closed or sometimes even closed. And it's really cool. The art was great and the writing was fantastic. They were talking about, they teased Sandman meeting the Justice League. And I'm just like, I can't wait for him to meet Batman. What is Batman going to do with this? I mean, Sandman is a god,
Give me a coffee. Make it a double. Now.
And so I can't wait to get to that point. I'll eventually check out volumes 2 up to 10, I think is what they're up to. I highly recommend the Sandman trade. Now, if we're talking about the bad one that I read this week, Suicide Squad, it's part of the New 52 trade. That was terrible. It was really, really, I really didn't want to finish this thing. I got about halfway through, and then if you guys really want to know, the criminals that include Harley Quinn, Deadshot, El Diablo, Shark, they are pretty much forced into being the Suicide Squad. They got a chip they got a bomb implanted on the back of their head. Amanda Waller can blow them up at any time if they in any way betray their employers. And in return, they get time off from prison. They can actually be out and about. I think that's in itself just a dumb concept. Amanda Waller is a smart woman. She wouldn't do that. You kind of see the consequences of that as Harley Quinn eventually tricks the entire Suicide Squad. What's interesting about this trade, I guess, is that you do get Harley Quinn's new origin.
What are you talking about? That's not an origin. New origin? No.
It's like an awful version of Mad Love.
It doesn't exist. I don't know what you're talking about.
She basically goes through the same thing, falls for the Joker in a way, but Joker convinces her, of course, to let him out, like in the cartoon and in the Batman Adventures book. But instead, Joker throws her in the same acid that he fell in a way to make her just like him. And she comes out with pale skin, and magically her hair is half red and half black or purple, however they want to draw that, blue and red. And she's also insane, just like him. I liked it better in Mad Love, where it's just the Joker's mind, his influence, that made Harley Quinn lose her mind, not this acid to try to make her more like the Joker. I did not like that. And her character design, of course, is shitty, but if I dislike the character that they turned her into, it's not the same Harley Quinn. This isn't the Harley Quinn that we know and love.
I think this doesn't exist. You read that Sandman book, started having crazy dreams, thinking about terrible stuff, and you just dreamt all this up. And now you're ruining the world. I have not read it. I will not read it. Harley Quinn is definitely one of my favorite DC characters, and I strongly disagree with what they did with her.
She was okay in the Batman, though. The Death of the Family, the first issue of that arc.
But she was there in such a small dose. I think if they had taken that same thing and put her in there more, if she wasn't half the comic, I think I would have hated it.
I think in the hands of the new writer, Scott Snyder. In the hands of Scott Snyder, she was our old Harley Quinn. She was nervous about the Joker and what he was going to do to her, pushing her over that limit that he reached. And you saw Harley Quinn. You saw how she is still underneath the Joker and very afraid, but still loves him. And then in this, it's just something completely different. It's not the same character. She's sleeping with Deadshot, calling him Puddin'.
No, don't know what
That's
you're
a crime.
Don't know what you're talking about. You speak craziness.
So skip out on Suicide Squad in general. I did not like it at all. Especially if you're a fan of Harley Quinn. This is not Harley Quinn. We also, some games coming out this week. Black Ops 2. Biggest game of the year. And Halo 4, of course, also released the week prior to that.
I'm going to lose you to Black Ops, aren't I?
Maybe.
Definitely.
But GameStop was doing the Nuketown 2025 map. I hated Nuketown, so I'm not going to get that.
No, you're going to play it.
No, I'm going to play it, but I'm not going to play Nuketown. I'm just not going to download that code.
No, you won't.
Also, Halo 4 again did come out, another big release. Like I mentioned earlier, we did see Skyfall today.
Mm-hmm.
That's the new James Bond film following the Quantum of Solace. And then the first one in that trilogy was Casino Royale. This is the reboot trilogy of the James Bond franchise. As far as I'm concerned, they don't connect to the older Bond films. Because if you remember Casino Royale, he earns his 007 status. You may want to argue that that was just a prequel to the other movies, but then you kind of see how Skyfall ends and how they change a lot of the characters by the end of the film. It's definitely its own thing, and it knows it. The new Q isn't about the gadgets. It's more about intel, telling Bond exactly where to go. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit, tell him about the plot of Skyfall.
It opens with somebody stolen a chip from a computer with all the secret agents' names on it. And in trying to recover this chip, Bond actually gets shot. And so he's presumed dead. And then there's, I guess you call him a terrorist, a cyber terrorist.
Yes.
That's slowly taking down the organization that M runs. I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah, he's played by Javier Bardem.
Fantastic job. I thought he did a wonderful job in this.
If you remember, he also won an Oscar for No Country for Old Men.
Mm-hmm.
Played the villain in that as well.
When Bond hears about this terrorism, he goes back to help instead of staying dead.
Right.
And it's just him taking down this terrorist, but it was amazing. I thought they did fantastic.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a comeback story for Bond because when he's returning to work, he fails his physical exam, his mental exam, yet M still has him work because she trusts Bond. That's the agent that she's always kind of went with. And this villain is kind of a betrayed agent. M gave up. His name is Silver. Kind of got let go by M. She let him get caught, or rather didn't save him from the people that ended up torturing him in order to save 6 agents. And he takes that personally, even though he kind of knows that that's the protocol. That's what you would do to save the agents.
Well, it was beyond that, too. He was a computer genius, and he was using that to start hacking China and all these other countries that they were trying to make nice with. And because he was hacking him, that looked bad on them.
And now he's kind of coming back to get revenge on the entire organization as well as to kill M. And Bond is there to... He's kind of in between all of that, but at the same time has his own little doubts with his relationship between him and M. And everything changes by the end of the movie. This one was different than Quantum and Casino in that there's not a gigantic plot behind this. Yeah, he can use his computers to pretty much set up any kind of terrorism around the world. But it's a much more personal film. It's about the agents. It's about the organization. It's not about trying to stop, this missile from destroying and any satellites around the orbit of Earth, or just any kind of plot. It's a lot more about the agents and what they went through, especially him.
Right. It also kind of plays into the fact where they're talking about how the 007, this whole group, is antiquated now within the world, and they show a lot how they can't keep up with this guy and all his computers. And there's one character who says, you think the world is all espionage all the time, and it's not anymore. You need to update with the world. We need to close down this organization.
Yeah, and you have a lot of star power in this. Aside from everyone from the last couple of movies, you got Ralph Fiennes as well. He plays a pretty important character in this.
Voldemort.
I hope we see him in future Bond films as well. It does end with Bond will be back, just like the last one. And I don't know if they're going to go with Daniel Craig again. I don't remember what his contract was. I thought it was only 3 films. So it might have been it with this, but we'll see who they end up bringing in for the 4th, or if they end up renewing Daniel's contract. As far as the trilogy goes, Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, and Skyfall, I think Casino Royale is still the best of the 3. Very good movie. Very classic Bond, as well as kind of a reinvention of the character. Quantum, I kind of want to forget about. It was cheesy. It was hammy. It wasn't a good action movie. Now Skyfall, I think, falls a little bit shorter of Casino Royale, but the set pieces were phenomenal. I thought they were much better than the ones in Casino Royale. Casino had the better action sequences, but this one, when it did have that action, it just looked gorgeous. There's one part where he is fighting a sniper in this glass floor. Even the walls are made out of glass, but when they're fighting, you have kind of like this. I don't know what you want. It was like a screensaver in the back, an advertisement
screen, yeah,
with blue jellyfish and stars and whatnot, and you just see their silhouettes fighting in that, and it looked really nice. And when he's arriving into another casino, a private one, more private, you see him going through like the Chinese dragons, and all the lamps are set up in the lake. You kind of see a little bit of it in the trailer, but that looked phenomenal. And I think the director as well, Mendez, did a great job capturing all of that.
I agree. It was great. And if anybody's worried, I'm not really a Bond fan. I don't see any of them. I never saw Quantum. I don't remember much of Casino. I probably saw it when it first came out on Blu-ray. And I've never seen any of the old Bonds. And it was super easy to follow. You didn't need any extra background because it could stand alone as its own movie.
It was a very enjoyable movie, Skyfall. If you're a Bond fan, or if you just like any of the action movies, watch it. If you're going to start from the beginning, check out Casino, skip Quantum, and go straight to Skyfall. We didn't see Wreck-It Ralph, but we'll probably try to check that out sometime this week. When we went, it was completely sold out, so we just decided to hold off, and we saw Skyfall instead today. We used up our money on that. So now we're broke, so we're going to have to wait till next week and see Wreck-It Ralph. I think that'll just about do it for this week, though. We're going to rewatch Justice League Doom. We saw it when it first came out. We're going to watch it again this week, and we'll talk about it. I'm going to be doing some live streaming with Call of Duty Black Ops 2, I think. That comes out on Monday night or Tuesday morning. That's the midnight launch if you're going to be doing that. And I will be doing some live streaming with my friend. That's a new feature that they have for the new Black Ops 2. You don't have to be an Elite member for it anymore. You can now, everyone has Elite. You have this extra feature now where you can live stream all of your YouTube, and I'm pretty sure that you can also hear your commentary when you're talking and playing against people. I'm a lot different when I'm playing Call of Duty than this. I'm not as organized or thought out. I'm usually yelling and cursing and all that, but it's still fun because me and Riggs have a good time playing Call of Duty.
Hilarious, guys. Hilarious.
And I'll probably be reviewing it as I go, so look for that later on this week, actually, before podcast number 10, I believe we're on. We're on number 9, so before number 10, you'll see us put that up. And I hope also you all enjoyed the Batman Beyond unboxing video. Mm-hmm. That was our first unboxing. Our next one's probably going to be the Adventure Time Collector's Edition, which we're pretty excited about, too.
I'm very excited.
So look for that as well. That'll be probably after podcast number 10. But, yeah, Black Ops 2 this week, and I think that's going to do it. Mm-hmm. And thank you again. Please, once again, follow us on Twitter, @ReasonsI'mBroke. Let us know what made you broke this week. #ReasonsI'mBroke. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Kelly.
Thanks for listening.